Hey, so I just wanted to recap on what I'm doing with my global legal argument to prevent the escalation of climate change and to stop further ecosystem contamination, which is bringing about the ill health of populations all over the world. Even if you look at the World Health Organization statistics, it's something like 1 in every 8 deaths in the world is due to respiratory illness, which can be attributable to destruction from coal. 1 in every 5 deaths is due to water contamination, which is largely due to the direct contamination at the source of extraction of the resources that power most of what we have in our lives. So we are compromising one community in the world to achieve comfort for another, or we are compromising often the health of our own citizens to to bring these dirty industry resources to bear. And that sort of compromise of one group of people for the benefit of another group of people is something that we need to decide to stop. That we're willing to take a bit of pain, do the transition to sustainable development and sustainable technologies only in order to protect lives all around the world and to stop the natural disasters that are increasing due to the changes in climate. So this is obviously a really important crossroads that we're at in terms of a society. Like, do we care enough about the health of everyone collectively and ourselves to stop dirty industry and transition? And so impressed to read that Leonardo DiCaprio is stopping sex forever in order to compel the oil companies to stop extraction of resources. That's epic. I don't know if it's true, but I read that on Inhabitat. I have probably a more serious solution, which is, I hope, through the International Criminal Court, and that is a law which makes it criminal to destroy. That already exists. This is not end ecocide. This is not rights of nature. This is not a philosophical, aspirational law that we want in the future. This is a law that exists today. It exists now. And for the last 6 years since I found this law or read the statute and interpreted it in this way, I've had 5 legal arguments relevant to environmental destruction accepted for review by the court. And now and in 2014 I wrote a paper that it could be applied to stop global climate change. Like, who needs to do the COP mechanism of charging a global tax which just affords the destruction continuing when you can actually criminalize the crime? Like, stop it at the source. If you stop the contamination at the source by holding the individuals who choose to destroy criminally liable for inflicting conditions of life upon civilian populations that are calculated to bring about their physical destruction, according to science, very clearly, then you stop the problem, and you only need a couple of successful prosecutions to I don't know, deter everyone else around the world from investing in dirty industry anymore, because they would be suitably afraid of 30 years to life imprisonment, and all their financial wealth could be forfeited and held in trust, reallocated by the court to repair and restore the ecosystems which they've harmed, either directly or indirectly, and to afford the transition that would permanently protect the population, which is an amazing tool. Because, part of the problem with transition is, if you read the trillions of dollars required to just transition to clean energy, it's almost unaffordable. Like, you don't know where those trillions are going to come from. And I mean, it seems impossible. And yet, if all of the money from all of the individuals who have profited from that destruction for so many years was seized and reallocated to afford that transition, it changes all the rules. Suddenly, country after country can afford the transition. The individuals who contaminated and have really killed millions of people through water disease or respiratory illness, things like that come from the direct contamination of these industrial developments, these people would be held to justice, which I think is incredibly important. Because I read there was, in one case that I argued, there was a South African coal company, and it actually published the number of deaths attributable to its coal mine in its in the vicinity of its mine. So number of human deaths, like it could calculate how many people had died as a result of coal mining in their area and the pollution and contamination. So that's insane. And I would estimate that that can be done in many cases around the world. And so those people who are knowingly destroying lives as an acceptable cost of doing business need to be held to account. Their money should afford the transition. It should be seized. And countries all over the world would become sustainable very quickly if we just get a couple of successful prosecutions. Now, I have got a global climate change argument, which argues that all of the individuals across the world who have been responsible for advancing dirty industry, knowing that it's destroying populations, should be held criminally accountable now and put to trial, or should be compelled to voluntarily and completely abandon the crime. And the other arguments I have are to defend our major ecosystems directly. So one is a case in Australia at the moment called Victory Australia. The website is victoryaustralasia.com. That is primarily to defend the Great Barrier Reef, but obviously to stop the contamination of the water, air, soil, and oceans and plants and animal species in Australia that will come about as a result of a massive expansion of coal mines, coal seam gas mines, even uranium mines are being licensed at the moment, which will really, really bring ill health and destruction to the human population here, and eventually bring about the collapse of economies. You know, I mean, clean water and clean air are essential to the good health of a population so that they work and function properly. And I think people are more and more getting that, and there's so many protests here against the coal and gas expansions. But what they actually need to empower them is the law with the world's highest court, who can act in their responsibility to protect the population and stop these mines. It's epic. So Victory Australasia, or Victory Australia is the action. That's a huge one. Another one is the Amazon. I've got a case in Ecuador and Brazil. So victoryamazon.com, you can go there and you can check out the Ecuador page in Brazil. If we can just get a couple of successful prosecutions to defend the rainforest, to defend the coral reefs, I've got another case that's on hold at the moment, but was to defend the Arctic, then we will be able to demonstrate to individual decision makers across the world with the power over investment and our direction towards sustainability and the speed at which we transition, that you will be held criminally liable if you continue to destroy our health in order to profit. If that signal is sent out with a couple of these cases being successfully prosecuted, everything changes. All investment, almost all investment, if the investors are sane, would choose to invest sustainably because they wouldn't want 30 years to life personal imprisonment and the loss of all of their personal wealth. I mean, it's just such a powerful tool of leverage. So that is, again, what I'm doing. This is just, it's so much more of a direct, logical mechanism to prevent climate change, or more importantly, the direct environmental destruction and ecosystem contamination, than the COP agreement, which has already proven to be massively failing. It's not going to protect populations in time, and charging a tax to afford the destruction continuing, it's just a global financial mechanism. It's a paradigm shift for who controls the tax system of the world. It does nothing actually except for technically unenforceable promises to stop the destruction continuing. All of these countries who are writing these beautiful little unenforceable promises, then simultaneously the other arm of their government are going and doing all these industrial developments which contaminate and destroy. So it's kind of disingenuous, but also incredibly important, and something that these countries should note. Within the Rome Statute, there's Article 21, and that allows all laws, treaties, conventions, anything, international laws, to be made enforceable. And whilst the United Nations conventions, like the COP agreement, are not enforceable technically, if Article 21 came to life, the COP agreement could be enforceable right across the world under my climate change argument, currently with the court for review. So that would also be an absolute game changer. It's a good use of the rules. Anyway, look, it would be amazing to win your support. We are definitely looking for donations at the moment. We have so much to do here in Australia. We've got an amazing team volunteering, but we have, people to pay, a lot of costs coming up, a lot of lawyers and scientists' fees to get the next Australian submission to the court and to entirely develop this international global climate change argument that could criminalise climate change and, as such, with a few prosecutions, stop it. Thank you.